We're going to continue to watch these images again at the University of Wisconsin at Madison, where police moved in. They cleared out some tents, the encampment that Tim tells us had been set up since Monday. And it appears that police are now retreating, but protesters are sort of following where police are headed. So unclear exactly where this particular protest and situation is headed right now. We'll keep an eye on that. Meantime, I want to turn to Carmen Best, our law enforcement analyst, who's joining us now. What do you make of the police involvement in these protest situations? You know, not just there in Wisconsin. We've seen it overnight in UCLA, on the campus there in California. We had the situation here in New York at Columbia University, where police were called in. The NYPD went into Hamilton Hall to take back that building from protesters who had gone in there and barricaded themselves. What is the police approach here? How should it look? And especially when there's so many situations breaking out across the country.
Yeah, Anna, good morning, and thank you for having me. You know, as these situations break out, there are so many stakeholders that have to be addressed here. We have the protesters, we have faculty, some of them involved in the protests, we have the administration trying to keep control of the campuses in many ways. We have the parents, some students who feel like they're unsafe on campus. I've sent my own kids to college, and I know what that feels like to have to worry about their safety and what's happening there. So a lot of folks that are engaged and involved in this. And it's a heavy, you know, a balance there between people's First Amendment right to free speech. They have the right to assemble and protest, to, you know, having, you know, a situation where they're trespassing or occupying where they shouldn't be. And so in many of these cases, they're trying to balance allowing the free speech to continue, but also taking care of some of the other situations. And it looks like here, at least in Madison, their objective was to remove the tents. Once the tents are removed, you know, why would the police need to be there any longer if it's a place where they're allowed to demonstrate and to protest and to express their free speech rights, so long as, you know, there's no violent acts or things like that occurring. So that's really the situation all across the country.
We're looking at these images again, live pictures from Madison, Wisconsin. It appears people are in a bit of a cleanup mode, and unclear what the protesters' plan is now that those tents have been taken down. Carmen, please stay with us. I want to bring in MSNBC contributor Eddie Glaude. He's a Princeton University professor. And Eddie, when you see what's happening there in Madison, when you learn about the situations overnight at UCLA and in here in New York at Columbia University, what's your gut reaction?
Well, Anna, it's great to see you. My gut reaction is heartbreak in some ways, to mix my metaphors. You know, once you invite the police onto campus, there is, by definition, an escalation. There is the possibility of physical harm directed at the students. And last night, when I saw images of New York police officers with their guns drawn entering Hamilton Hall, or entering one of the rooms in Hamilton Hall, my heart broke as an educator. Our principal responsibility is to take care of our students. It's to educate them. It's to give them the equipment, the resources, not only to be critical thinkers, but also to be, you know, informed citizens, to understand their obligations to each other and to the country. And so it's heartbreaking on so many levels.
What do you see, though, as the line there, Eddie, when you know, universities are saying some of these protests have prevented other students from being able to participate in their classwork and in their finals, in graduation events? Students who, you know, don't feel safe on campus because of sort of some of the threatening things they're seeing or hearing from some of these protesters. Some are considered anti-Semitic, that sort of thing.
Anna, I've been a part of higher education for over 30 years. And I've seen protests over those 30 years that have ranged in intensity. I've seen students of color who've experienced all sorts of horrific things. And I've seen communities shudder at, you know, in some ways shaken by protests. But it's always in the interest of the administration to give room for students to express their political views, to be committed to a notion of academic freedom that allows for a wide range of dispute and dialogue. But when you invite police to a campus, Remember, they have the legitimate use of deadly force. When you invite police onto a campus, you escalate the tensions immediately. And I think it's important for administrators to understand their responsibility. You have to engage in dialogue. You have to engage in debate. These students feel that this is the moral issue for their generation. And I think as an educator, we have to give them space to think through that. And the encampments were nonviolent. And once they, I should say this quickly, once they take over a building, the students have made a decision to put themselves into a disciplinary process. Many will face suspension. Some will face expulsion. Some will face the withholding of their degrees. They understand the consequences within the context of the university. But the moment you invite the police on campus, given our history,